How important is China to the world? Well, actually, it's vital. It's a massive part of the world economy. And in many ways, it drives the world economy even more than America. What do I mean? Well, if you think about China's growth, when it's growing at 5 to 7%, as it has done historically, then of course, that's massive growth that drives the world economy. As they re-elect President Xi, he's made a speech, 2 hours, just talking about exactly what he believes in and what he's going to be doing going forward. There's some changes in there, so I'll explain those to you and what effect it has on the economic policies of the world, what it means to the world and what it means to you and me. First of all, COVID zero. So he's doubled down on COVID zero. Okay, that's not good for the world economy because when they double down on COVID and they go into lockdown, it slows down the Chinese economy. So big on that, trying to make sure that they avoid the spread of the virus COVID, which of course we've had many people around the world vaccinated, and then of course that has limited the lockdowns. China's not going that direction. It's still locking down when necessary. Arguable why they do that, and you'll have your own opinion. Are they really just trying to control people, and will there be a backlash? China's important. This is important. He's also talked about Taiwan. He says that he wants it to be reunified as one country. He's determined and will use force if necessary. This is just a repeating of words that's been used in the past. However, he talked about national security, increasing spending on the military. So China's looking inward. It's trying to make sure that it's strong. He mentioned security 73 times in that 2-hour speech. He's talking about national security, making sure there's more spending, making sure that China is more secure. We have a divided world. We have the superpowers. We have China and we have the USA. He talked about technology, and again, he talked about technology decoupling. So when we talk about technology, you've got America with one type of technology with the rest of the world, and you've got China has developed its own technology. Again, he says that he's going to crack down on it to make sure it's secure and make sure that it is invested heavily in, believes in tech, but wants it to be separated from the Western world. We're back to this divided world. So then we move on and we look at property, where he's talking about a slow growth rather than massive growth. He would rather have a slow growth but more security for the country and make sure that COVID goes away than he would massive growth. Again, this just means, again, we're where we are right now, slow growth for China. It's going to be around 3-4%. He's saying 5. Okay, that would seem unlikely based on the policies that they've been suggesting. Of course, China was at one stage growing by 7-8%. Just think, if it grows at 7-8%, it creates an Italian economy every year. Okay, just see what difference it makes to the world economy if China's growing. Of course, they've had property crisis, don't want property to be overbought, so slowing down a property without allowing property companies to go broke, again, seems to be crucial and part of it. He talks a lot about common prosperity. He wants it to be different, a different system than America. Doesn't want the capitalism, wants common prosperity. So it's been a theme that's been talked about a lot, common prosperity. In other words, everybody being prosperous rather than capitalism where the rich get richer. And his big push on it, and you can have to say that he totally believes in common prosperity, trying to spread the riches, not allowing people to become mega rich, but spreading it. China has its billionaires, but of course you've seen a crackdown on some of those where they feel that perhaps they've got too much power. Expect the same, he's talking the same, and as he gets this next term and it goes on perhaps for a 10-year period, it seems to be he's talking a longer term period for growth. Expect steady, slow growth, strong growth, China looking inward, not looking too much to worry about the rest of the world, but just making sure it's strong itself with other nations. Hong Kong, it's talked about the fact that it's now run by patriots. In other words, Hong Kong is run by people that are on side with China. He's got rid of his enemies. And again, you've seen this in China, you've seen it in Hong Kong, where he's not frightened to get rid of his enemies. Strong speech, talked about making sure they keep going with coal, which is disappointing from a climate point of view. He said, we've got to make sure that we develop the new before we discard the old. In other words, we're keeping going with what we've got. We'll develop new ways for climate control, but in the meantime, we're going to be making sure that we'll be using coal effectively, making sure that we get ready for the green environment. Let's hope they invest in it and they make sure they do get ready for it. Interesting to see what China is doing. It does have an effect on investments. It does have an effect on the way that we live. There is, in my opinion, a Cold War. In other words, there's a split in opinion. There's differences. We've got deglobalization. It does make a difference. Expect over the next 10, 15 years that we're not going to achieve, as a global economy, the speed of growth that we've had in the past. Doesn't mean you can't make money. Doesn't mean there's not opportunities. I'll talk about those during the videos on this channel. So hit subscribe, please like and share the video. Try and get information out to you concise so you can make your own mind up. Summary points is from an investment point of view, tech, it's going to be big, it's going to be massive, but controlled. Big point, slow, steady growth, not going to shoot the lights out, strong on COVID lockdowns. In other words, again, just looking for steady growth rather than shoot the lights out. We'll see what the markets do. Expect it to be muted, if not fall slightly, because they're not going to be as aggressive in growth as perhaps people would like them to be. Please like, please share the video, make sure you subscribe, and we'll get out the information to you as concisely as I can.